happy Easter, everybody. And I was talking to my son, Nathaniel, who lives in California. We were talking about all the different Jesus movies that we have seen over the years. And we were, of course, discussing The Chosen and the new episode. First episode of season 2 of The Chosen is going to be premiered tomorrow. And we're just talking about the Jesus character, how Jesus is depicted in the movies that we see. And Nathaniel, you've seen a lot of Jesus movies. Which of the characters, the depictions of Jesus that you have seen in your life, do you like the most, or have appealed to you the most, or spoken to you the most?
Right. That's I think that the older movies that had Jesus in them, like going back to King of Kings and The Greatest Story Ever Told, some of those older movies do have a real somber and serious Jesus. And in more recent times, like I suppose in the last maybe 10, 20 years or so, we've seen Jesuses that are a little bit more on the human side, that maybe joke or play around or are a little bit more lighthearted than some of the Jesuses that we've seen depicted in the older movies. And I mean, I have to tip my hat to anyone who can pull off making a Jesus movie, because it must be quite a challenge, not just for the writer and the director, but for the actor to take on that role, to try to portray Jesus in the way that the vision of the movie makers are trying to come across with. So not an easy thing to do. And certainly I'm not going to be critical about people that try that.
So before you go on here, tell me, since The Chosen is the newest depiction of Jesus, before we talk about the other Jesuses that you've seen, the other depictions of Jesus, how do you think The Chosen is doing in the way they're depicting Jesus?
Sure. Well, every generation kind of needs to solve this puzzle, I think, for themselves, because just like you have superhero movies that have been remade pretty much every decade or so, kind of a reimagining of Batman or Superman. I like Superman because there's so many similarities between an alien super figure coming from another planet to help save mankind. But how many remakes of those movies have there been, kind of to update the story or upgrade the technology for the current audience, or maybe even just for the climate or the atmosphere of what the world is going through at that time. So I do like the idea that there are these new imaginings of Jesus, and The Chosen is doing a very good job, I believe. Sometimes I watch a movie or a show and I do have a certain critical element to the way my eye catches things, like whether it's the dialogue or the accents or the acting, or maybe the set design, where it looks like their clothes that they're wearing aren't really clothes that someone has lived in for a long time, or that the buildings might not look like they're real buildings, but that someone just set it up for a scene. Once I get beyond those little tiny things that don't really mean all that much, and I'm able to peel away all of that kind of exterior stuff to see what the intent of the film, like what are they trying to get across, I think The Chosen has done a great job. There is one thing that I've heard some movie makers comment about why they decided to make a new Jesus show. And the creator of this Chosen show, I believe he made a mention of this also, where they had a hard time finding older movies of Jesus that were done with good makeup and hair or with good costumes. I heard Mel Gibson say that too when he was making The Passion of the Christ. And I keep thinking, well, haven't you guys seen Franco Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth? Because that movie wasn't corny at all. The set design, the acting, the costumes, the hair, the beard, the accents, even the lines and the way that they delivered the lines, in my opinion, for me, even till this day, all these 30 some years later, or I don't really know how long it's been since Jesus of Nazareth was made, still holds a very high standard.
I think it was made in mid 70s, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and one thing about the Jesus of Nazareth movie is that it's true. I show my kids clips from that movie all the time. They're like, Daddy, we're scared because Jesus is so he's so serious. Because I show them a little clip of maybe him doing some serious thing. And then, but with the kids, I've also been watching The Chosen, and they do like that playful element that Jesus has, whether it's with children in the show or his disciples, or joking about someone having two left feet and not being able to dance very well at that wedding party. And those are all scenes which I think are great because they bring Jesus kind of down to more of a human, relatable kind of a standard. For me though, and this is kind of hard to quantify for the audience at large, because there are movies that I like that other people don't like, and vice versa. And sometimes it just happens to be the place that you are or the mood that you're in when you watch something, whether it really resonates or connects with you. But for me, Franco Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth, and the way that they did the music, the acting, the basic capturing of the Jesus character, that one is pretty high up there as far as the standard goes. Sure, he didn't joke a lot in that movie, but I think in reality, once Jesus, for those who believe that Jesus was an actual person that lived, that walked the earth, I think that if you look at Wikipedia, you'll find that most scholars agree that Jesus was a real man who did have a record of his presence or living on earth. And if you believe that, and if Jesus, he either was a crazy person who said, I and my Father are one, or he was who he said he was. And either way, he did obviously believe in what he was saying. And from a pretty early age, I think that he knew his purpose was to come and ultimately be a sacrifice by dying, and to carry that kind of reality around in the back of his head or somewhere. He knew in his psyche that at some point pretty soon he was going to die. I just imagine it would have been difficult for him to be very carefree, or because in Isaiah, I think it is, where it says he was a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. So I think that Jesus, although he probably did have his moments of lighthearted, a human kind of interaction with people that anyone could see themselves gathering around and having a fun time hanging out with him, that he also was a serious person because he was carrying this weight around with him, knowing that his time was short, and that at some point pretty soon he was going to be suffering quite a bit. So with that in mind, I don't mind personally seeing a Jesus that is somber and sober and serious. I do like, though, seeing him having those lighthearted moments, and I appreciate that, especially because I think that might draw a circle that's big enough to bring more people into, rather than drawing this tiny little circle of how perfect Jesus was, and no one could have gotten close to him, because the record of Jesus's interactions, which are primarily found in the Gospels, of what Jesus did while he was here, he did hang out with people that were of the baser sort, people that were considered sinners and not like the righteous people and the good people. So maybe there would have been room for him to hang out with someone like me and still have compassion on me when I do some of the foolish things that I do, which I'm not all that proud of, but I think that there would have been a lot of compassion and mercy from Jesus if he were here and got to spend some time with me.
So tomorrow's Easter. Are you planning on watching the first episode of season 2 of The Chosen?
Yes. The kids are all, actually, it was just 2 days ago that we finished the last episode of season 1. And I told them that in 2 days, season 2 would be dropping. And we just figured out how to install the Chosen app on our phone and then cast it to the TV with Roku. So we were able to watch the last episode in a higher definition format rather than the slightly pixelated version on YouTube. So assuming that the app will work for season 2, and I don't know how the pay it forward thing exactly works, but we are looking forward to watching that. Today, we spent some time watching 4 different versions of Jesus movies that I have in our collection, and we fast forwarded to the Easter scene where it shows Jesus raising from the dead and then appearing to his disciples. So we are all caught up with the Easter side of things. We'll probably do an Easter egg hunt for fun for the kids, and they do know very clearly that Easter is not about a bunny rabbit or about finding chocolate eggs, but for the sake of having a little fun and throwing an activity into what is already a meaningful time to remember Jesus rising from the dead, we'll probably do that as well.
So if Dallas Jenkins, the co-writer and of course director and creator of The Chosen, is watching this, if you had any advice for him, would you say anything critical or that might help him in what he's doing?
No, I would say let he who is without sin among you cast the first stone. How could I possibly do that when he's put so much on the line to make this happen? As much as I would someday love to try my hand at telling a story of the way that I would imagine Jesus, it would be such a huge undertaking, and I think the weight on my shoulders would be so great that I wouldn't want to add any more weight onto anyone else's shoulders who's already trying to do that. The little that I've seen of what's his name, Jenkins?
Yeah, Dallas Jenkins.
Okay, Dallas Jenkins. The little I've seen of him, I do appreciate how he is not just reimagining the story of the Gospels, but he's adding a little bit of backstory that is not in the Gospels, so that when you do get to that punchline, like the woman at the well, it carries a little bit more of a punch because they kind of reimagined what her backstory might have been to have gotten her to that point. And when Jesus says the words to her, or like in episode 1, when Jesus finally meets Mary Magdalene, and there's a verse from the Old Testament that is quoted several times throughout that episode. And then when Jesus quotes that verse to her, the way that they told the backstory, which was up to their imagination, and definitely used some creative thinking to come up with that. But the way that they did that when they got to the punchline, I appreciated that. And as someone who's already read those texts quite a few times and even committed a lot of that to memory, when you get to see someone else's imagining of what might have been the steps that led up to that final moment, it's pretty fun to watch. So I appreciate everything that they've done and looking forward to the upcoming season.
Well, Nathaniel, thanks for taking the time to talk to us about the Jesus movies. And we'll be watching The Chosen season 2, episode 1. Also here, we're having a little showing party. And to all of you who are watching this on YouTube, we'd like to wish you all a very happy and blessed Easter. God bless you all.
Thank you.